what a beautiful day it is, and to think that there are 17 people who are not here to enjoy this beautiful day, and that for their families it's not a beautiful day, and they'll have grief to deal with for the rest of their lives. Mitch said, where did this country lose its way? On April 4th, it'll be 50 years to the day since Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. So the gun violence that we saw in the 1960s just rolls on, and it gets worse and worse. And I've been thinking about King and what King said about this country and the problems this country has had. He said that the United States had three great sins, three great evils, and they're all intertwined today. Racism, militarism, and unrestrained greed, unrestrained capitalism. And we see all three of them intertwined today. That unrestrained greed, the gun lobby, making these massive donations to our politicians, who are putting the interests of corporations like this Kalashnikov AK-47 factory ahead of human beings, ahead of the lives of their own people. And that's certainly all tied in with militarism. And the racism, this white supremacy, we see it play out with each of these shooters. These are troubled teens, young teens, mostly white teens. And this Nicholas Cruz, to say his name, was crying out for help. He was. And nobody responded. The FBI was told about it. Other law enforcement was told about it. So when we talk about correcting this problem, addressing this problem, we do have to ban these assault weapons. There's no place for military assault weapons in civilian society. I keep hearing from gun advocates that we need these assault weapons to protect us from the government. By that logic, we should all be able to buy bazookas, drones, tanks. The best way to protect ourselves from our own government is to have a free press and a vigilant population that's willing to get up and vote them out any given day.
Yeah. Right, that's right. Woo!
So what can be done? You see what's happened in Tallahassee. Mitch mentioned they will not even bring this to a vote. They don't want the transparency of a vote. And I've seen going around social media the names of some of these politicians in Tallahassee who voted not to have a vote, basically. And we've got to vote them out. And in Washington, D.C., you've got Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell who are refusing to bring it to a vote.
Pathetic.
And I've heard students talking about boycotting. Boycotting who? Boycotting the states of Wisconsin and Kentucky, because their representatives are the ones that are stopping this from coming to a vote.
Yes.
We saw the power of citizen boycotts, a year or two ago in North Carolina, where the issue was bathrooms. And I don't mean to belittle the issue, but this issue is so important, what's happening right now. Every day is Russian roulette in our schools. I get messages all the time from teachers and children, students from all over this country, who say how petrified they are to just go to their jobs or go to school each day. That's not a learning environment. We know scientific studies, what happens to the human brain when it's in that fight or flight mode. This is not an environment to learn in. It's not an environment to learn in if we arm the teachers and expect them to have shootouts to protect the students. That's not a solution. This president is way off base to suggest something like that. So what can we do here in Florida? There is still a Constitution Review Commission, and it still has some hearings. That Constitution Review Commission can put new proposals on by a 2/3 vote. Do I have confidence they will? No. The members of that commission were appointed by Governor Rick Scott, but there's movement happening. Even Rick Scott is now saying there should be a 21-year-old age limit to buy a firearm. I never thought I'd hear that from Rick Scott. It's got to go well beyond that. We've got to get rid of these assault rifles. We've got to get rid of the high-capacity magazines. We got to demand that the Constitution Revision Commission take this up and that the Broward Charter Commission take it up as well. And I'd say, while they take that up, they really do also have to address the mental health issues that are happening.
Yes.
They do. It's not one or the other. It's both. I spoke to a school counselor the other day and asked, what is the best practices? How many school counselors should be in these schools? And she said that the American Society of School Counselors says there should be one school counselor for every 250 students. Although the school that she is in, she's the only school counselor for 370 students. Well, if that American Society of School Counseling is suggesting one for every 250, we should demand one for every 100. And we should demand a licensed mental health therapist on site, one for every 200 students. These are investments of our tax dollars that we should demand be made in every school. There should not, to get back to the assailants here and the assailants that we've seen all over this country, it's a disturbing pattern. I'd recommend anyone go to Netflix and see a film called The Mask You Live In. And it's about the mask of masculinity or hypermasculinity. What a lot of these kids are being taught in school and taught by social media, and not just social media, mass media. By the time they're teenagers, they've seen hundreds of thousands of acts of violence on TV, in the movies, 40,000 murders on average, now being exposed to violent porn and to all other kinds of messages. And these kids are growing up to be told a really false narrative about what it means to become a man. They're being told never show weakness, never show empathy, that if you're angry, isolated, depressed, and alone, that somehow it should come out in the form of anger and violence. Now, this last assailant in Parkland, he showed all the signs of that. He was torturing and killing animals as well. Now, this is a cultural crisis that this society has. And again, it goes back to those three sins, those three evils that Martin Luther King Jr. was warning about. We've got to demilitarize our society. We've got to move away from this unrestrained greed. And we've got to say enough with the racism, the sexism, the misogyny, the white supremacy, and to have and build a culture of peace and compassion. Thank you very much.
Way to go, Tim.